Hello and welcome to the Morphin Loft. Come on everybody, let's do that conga. No? Come on, let's go wild with the Kongazord from Power Rangers Wildforce. First seen in episode 8, the Gorillazord appeared to harness the power of the Bear Brothers and form the Kongazord. Initial thoughts? He's big. He's a beefed up King Kong, gorilla, chunky tank of a Megazord. So let's break him down and look at his weapons and his Zord modes. So here we have the Zords. Let's start with the gorilla, since he's the real heart of this whole thing. And one of the initial things that I noticed with this is that it's patent all over, apart from the chest plate, which has that metallic sheen to it. And what I like about that is when it's in Megazord mode, it has that metallic look across the chest, which you don't get in the Zord mode, so it feels like a real leveled up, energized, battleized mode. But even on the inside, he does have detailing across his chest with his own emblem and own detailing, which again, I always talk about this with Wildforce. So there's something about this series that is really beautiful, and the gilding on it and all the detailing across all of the Zords. Of course, some of them aren't as robust, but they look amazing, and that's why the popularity for the Wildforce Megazord series has continued. And he's got quite a serious face, but then metallic, robotic, armoured across the jaw. I think this is a really brilliant Zord. It's one of my favourite Zords across Wildforce. I think probably across all Megazords, this is probably one of my favourite Zords. And he does have a weapon, which is stored in his back. So this I just called the banana chain. I'm sure it's got a more sensible name. And he can hold it. He has a slight movement in his fingers, which means he can hold it, although because he's always bent over forwards, it doesn't necessarily hold very well. So you have to do a sped up moment and it still falls. But he can hold it. It's better in Megazord mode. But I really like that as a weapon, that there's this extra touch because the bananas are something that obviously that he does. And now the Bear Brothers. Opposite Zords, giving polar opposite, bad pun. The colour schemes of the black bear and the polar bear with their gold gilded detailing, the really strong aspects across the middle, which then become really emblazoned shoulder pads. They could have done with a bit more mobility, considering how much they then move in Megazord mode. They don't move very much in Zord mode, but I think they're really great. I think they're really sweet little toys. They're so cool as Zords, and they bring so much to Power Rangers as a series. And then they both have missiles that they shoot. The black bear has fire and the polar bear has ice, which again is a really simple detail that brings so much to it. And they pop into their mouths. The mouths are quite firm as joints, like you have to pull them quite hard and they lock into place. But then they don't actually go very far. It's underneath. So again, this is, although it doesn't go very far in this mode, it's better in Megazord mode. Because it's higher up, you get a bit more distance to it, but they're not great. But then again, missiles isn't really something that is common it's not common at all in Wildforce, these are the only ones to do that, but in Megazords, it's not really common to have missiles that shoot very far, so I wasn't really expecting them to do much. And then we have a yellow eagle, which is exactly the same as the one you get with the Wildforce Megazord, which I really like, because if it was made now, if it was released now, what you'd get is, you'd get these three as a set, and they'd be the Konga set, and include it with the Wildforce Megazord that you've already bought. Whereas in this, they went, no, well, you might not buy everything, but you can build this Megazord with this set, which I really appreciated. And then there's this. You know I have an issue with carrier mode anyway with the Megazord, but they could have just added a bison, and I get why they've done it. They've done this so the Kongazord can be higher up, and it's something interesting if you have already bought the Wildforce Zord, so you don't have two bisons and two eagles. And it's larger and it's beefier, and it does work as a carrier Zord. You have to put the horns down, but the gorilla can sit on there and the Bear Brothers can sit on the back, or sort of. But then even if you do get it, manage to get them all on in a way that is anywhere near stable, After all that effort to make what is essentially a pile of Zords, you go, okay, I'm going to turn it on. Where's the switch? Underneath. So you have to take everything off. So essentially what you have is a semi-look of a Zord that can do this. And it is so much better in Megazord mode, but in this mode it's a bit lackluster, it's a letdown. But let's see what they look like with other Wildforce Zords. One of the great things about Wildforce is everything is interchangeable, which makes it really interesting as a series, as I've said when I reviewed this guy. But the first time we see the Bear Brothers is actually with the Wildforce Megazord. And it's noticeably larger across the shoulders, so it looks like he's swallowed his arms, which I like because it looks like it's not really supposed to be here. They look like large cannon add-ons, which are really interesting and impressive to look at as a Zord, and it makes it so much wider and it gives you the shoulder pads again, as I said. But that makes it so much better when they go with the Kongazord, because it looks like it's supposed to be there. Whereas here, they look like added extras. So when in the series, the Bear Brothers actually weaken the Red Lion, it makes it so much more conclusive as a storyline. There he is with the actual bison. And I don't think it looks too short or too stumpy. I think it works. Of course, with this, he's higher up. So here, in comparison, you can see that his chest sits a lot higher here. But this doesn't look wrong. This looks like a guy that forgot leg day a little bit, but you're using a gorilla, so it's always going to have that plumped up chest feel. And I think if you really want to have continuity in the toys when you're displaying them, I would just try and get another bison if you can. But I guess for me it's just unnecessarily large. There's something about it that is too high up. It's almost like you've put it on a podium. But then of course he is motorized. And it's not that fast, and it's not a massive feature, but it is something more, something that you don't get from the Wildforce Megazord. So now let's show you the weapons again. If you angle them up, you get a bit more of a range. But they're still not that far. They're tiny springs, they're never going to go very far. But they still fire, which is great. It's not like the Mega Voyager, where it sort of pops out and then doesn't go anywhere. But interestingly, they don't actually use the cannons as the finisher. Although when they first appear, they are large cannons and they blast away at orcs. Here, for the finisher in the Kongazord, they're like knuckle attacks, so they're just massive, clunking sledgehammer strikes, which is really great. Again, another use for them in an empowered up way, which you don't get in some things where they go, oh, this is the finisher, and every episode this is always the finisher. And now the banana chain. Again, it links okay. It's stronger in its links here than it is for the gorilla. But there's not loads you can do with it. It's much more of a display weapon. The actual play is something that is a nice addition, but doesn't necessarily add anything apart from going, oh look, it's got it attached and it rolls. And that's all you're really getting. But with this chain, it's metal, it's gold. If I'm holding this in the right place, you can see this, and it really does look like a pointed bunch of bananas, which is something that they really took time with in Wildforce. Again, overall, I'm sure you're going to guess, I can't review this toy high enough. It's amazing, it's strong, it's interesting, it's an amazing addition to the series of Wildforce. In Wildforce, every single Megazord is so different, and even if they have crossovers and similarities, the other things about them outweigh that completely. And this is one of those opportunities where they give you a completely different look, a completely different shape, but again, something you're familiar with in terms of transformation. So get this if you can. I'm going to be listing this actually. Sadly, it's going to be moving on to a new home, but it could be you. So like, follow, comment and subscribe for more videos, more photos, and of course, may the power protect you.